Who's actually getting value from the fellow's AutoMax 350C, and who would be better off leaving it on the shelf? If you're trying to decide whether this 2-in-1 shredder is worth the price for a regular home office or a modest-sized team, you're in the right spot. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's dig into the real-world trade-offs, because buying the wrong shredder can mean wasted floor space, endless paper jams, or a false sense of security for sensitive documents. First off, the biggest hesitation people have is the auto-feed promise. On paper, it sounds like you can just toss a stack in and walk away. In practice, the AutoMax 350C will pull in up to 350 sheets at a time, but it does so at a measured pace, about a dozen sheets per pass when you're using the manual feed lane. That means if you're shredding a pile of 300 receipts, you'll still be watching the tray empty in a few minutes, not in a single push of a button. For most home office users who do a batch once a week, that's fine. For a busy accounting firm shredding dozens of boxes daily, it's a bottleneck. The SilentShred label also gets a lot of attention. In my own setup, a small corner desk with a laptop, a printer, and a coffee mug, the machine is noticeably quieter than a typical crosscut shredder, but it's not a whisper. You'll still hear a low hum and a faint chop when the blades engage. If you share a cubicle and need absolute hush, you might still feel the vibration. On the upside, that reduced noise level makes it feasible to run it during a conference call without drawing stares, something many of us have appreciated when we need to dispose of sensitive meeting notes on the fly. Now, who should actually buy this thing? The sweet spot is a home-based entrepreneur, a freelance consultant, or a small team of 5 to 10 people who handle a steady trickle of paperwork. Think bank statements, tax forms, client contracts, and the occasional stack of printed emails. The 350-sheet auto-feed capacity means you won't be stopping every few minutes to empty the bin, and the crosscut mechanism, two-step cutting, brings the shredded pieces down to roughly 5 mm 12 mm, which is solid enough for most confidentiality standards without venturing into the pricey high-security realm. If you're a small business that already has a shredder but finds yourself constantly dealing with jams because you shoved too many staples or paper clips in, the AutoMax 350C might actually be an improvement. Its design includes a separate manual lane that handles up to 12 sheets per pass, which is useful for those occasional, just a few pages jobs that you don't want to load into the big bin. You can quickly grab a handful of documents, feed them manually, and keep the main auto-feed tray free for the larger batch. On the flip side, there are clear reasons to skip this model. First, if you're looking for industrial-grade throughput, say you're a law firm shredding client files non-stop, the 12-sheet manual limit and the modest auto-feed speed will feel sluggish. Second, if your budget is tight, the price point sits above the entry-level single-feed shredders that only take a few sheets at a time. You'll be paying for the auto-feed convenience, the larger bin, and the crosscut security, but you won't get the heavy-duty durability of a commercial-grade unit that can chew through staples and binding wire without a hiccup. Lastly, if your office space is already cramped, the footprint of the AutoMax 350C, roughly the size of a small printer, means you need a dedicated spot on the floor or a sturdy shelf. Some users have noted that the weight makes it a little tricky to move once it's set up. Let's talk practicality. I used the AutoMax 350C for a month in a shared co-working space. Every Friday, I'd collect all the week's receipts, old client proposals, and a handful of personal tax documents. Loading the auto-feed tray with the full 350 sheet capacity took about a minute. The machine ran for roughly 7 minutes, and the bin filled up to about 3/4. The shredded strips were consistent, and when I lifted the bin, there was no paper jam to scrape out. The real win was that I never had to run back to the reception area to empty a tiny bin. The larger capacity let me keep the shredder running until the end of the day. One downside I hit was the occasional jam when I tried to shred a stack with a few stubborn staples. The auto-feed lane is forgiving up to a point, but a handful of staples can jam the blades, requiring a manual reset. The manual lane handled staples better because you could feel the resistance and adjust the feed, but it's still a reminder that this isn't a no-jam machine. If you routinely shred stapled reports, you'll need to remove staples first or accept the occasional interruption. Another practical consideration is power consumption. The AutoMax 350C draws about the same wattage as a medium-size printer, so you won't see a noticeable spike on your